in Yuma, and this was 26 years ago because Tristan was a baby. And this gentleman says, the average family in the United States has 1.9 children. And this was 26 years ago. He says you need to start investing in PetSmart and Petco and all these other food places.
He's absolutely right.
Because the average family has 3 point something animals, and they worry about their animals more than they do about their children. And I would love to know what the numbers are now. But
there's a chance. There's a chance. A preliminary census data is 5.7
pets
No, children
per family.
Per fertility of a woman's life, which is, we have lower fertility rates than France. We're in real trouble. The United States, I have 6 PhD economists. I do weird stuff. I'm freaking good at math. And so I chair the Joint Economic Committee. We're at 0 population growth in the United States, and we predict within the next 3 years we're going to go negative.
I mean, we have 3 children,
Hello?
and 2 of them are like, we'll never have kids.
Yeah.
And that's
10-4.
terrifying.
It is.
It's terrifying for a system.
Okay, thank you.
But it also means the only way I can make the economy work, the only way I can make wages work, the only way I can get you the ability to still be productive is we're going to have to adopt technology and these things. Some of it's a little
We're on
creepy,
YouTube.
but we don't have a choice.
But we get more and more efficient every day. But I don't always think AI is the answer and robotics aren't the answer. That's
A lot of this is going to be. And I'm going to lead. I actually tried doing a presentation to a group a few days ago, trying to explain, hey, you do understand things like alfalfa. It's a commodity. I mean, there's actually trading boards on it, and trying to explain. And this group thought they could basically go out and strip you of your private property rights and take your water and say that's how we solve the water issues. You gotta be careful. These were a room full of Republicans who wanted to sever your constitutional rights.
But we got to go back to
Is this camera good?
we got to go back to Udall and the old folks that put things together, and we got to have a little history lesson on the water.
I prefer Carl Hayden and Rose,
Okay,
but I'm more.
But I mean,
There you go. You need
All right.
2 fingers from your mic.
I hate to say this, I'm actually an old hat here. I used to be the fill-in host many years ago.
Okay. All right. You do that with him. I'm going to Waffle House.
All right. No,
but let's talk about what happened to communities when your gins went out of business. Cotton was an amazing industry for communities.
Yeah.
And when we got rid of World Cotton on the cotton subsidy program, it killed Hyder overnight.
Give me more on that.
Okay. 1984, they changed the Farm Bill, okay, where you were guaranteed 72 cents a pound for cotton. It didn't matter what the quality was, whatever, you got 72 cents a pound. Your family had a gin, everybody had a gin, they rolled in, the quality didn't matter because after 18 months you could just default and give it to the government. They could sell it, throw it on the world market. That's how we killed the Russians. We had such low commodity prices that we beat them in the Cold War because they couldn't sell wheat. It wasn't because we did anything great. I think
But we collapsed their economy.
we collapsed our economy. We did it with wheat and cotton, and we kept the world's prices suppressed. Now it was the 1980 farm crisis that hurt us as well, but we were able to manage that better. But I truly think that's what brought down the Russians.
That's fair.
And but in 1984 we changed that, and we no longer had world cotton price that guaranteed 72 cents. Well, now that changed the economy to where gins like yourself couldn't finance, you didn't get the volume. You started shutting down, started consolidating. We have 1 gin in Maricopa County. There's 1 in Yuma County. There's not a working gin in Pima County, for heaven's sakes.
Now that, I thought there was still, isn't Coolidge?
That's Pinnell.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, I'm an idiot.
No, you're
Yeah.
not. So
No. Interesting.
But without that base, that the growers, and then everything went larger to to where a family couldn't be guaranteed. You didn't have a base. Lenders didn't loan enough money. So I'll be quiet. You're loud.
Okay, we gotta go, guys.
Do you want a different pair?
No, this will work.
Okay. You can plug in over here.
Got it.
You can plug in over here.
All right, I want to welcome everybody to the show today. We're doing something a little bit different. We've got Tyson, and you know he's all mic'd up, got his earmuffs on. Oh my gosh! You know what we say about you? Telephone, telegraph, or tell Tyson.
100%.
Yeah, it's going to be a long 2 hours. yeah. And then we have our good friend David Swikart, Congressman for Arizona, doing a great job making a bid for Arizona governor. I'm gonna throw my wheat in your wagon and let's just get it done. So I appreciate you coming down, and I want to start with your thoughts on the passing of Lindsey Graham. What a shock!
Yeah, no, look, I hate to sound like a political mercenary, but it's partially what I do for a living. On one hand, you're shocked to see it.
Oh, yeah.
And the other hand, your brain starts to go, oh God, dear Lord, how does this screw up an already screwed up Congress?
Yeah.
100%.
And we'll find out more what's going on. And look, I'm in the House. Traditionally, we say the Democrats are our opposition, the Senate's actually our enemy, which is more true than you'll ever know.
Yeah.
But we're living on a razor's edge in Congress. You know, we only have a couple vote margin in the House. The Senate's pretty much the same. And,
Exactly.
you know, and Graham, you know, was an interesting standpoint because on one hand, he close ally of President Trump. And on the other hand, he was sort of the old school, you know, conservative of, you know, the United States has to be a leader in the world.
Well, early on, he was quite an adversary against Trump.
Oh no, when Trump first started, and the two of them used to smash heads. And
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Now part of that is, I think Lindsey also one time had presidential ambitions.
Of course.
So,
he
so
did.
you always got to figure out what is policy and what is ambition.
Agreed.
Pretty crazy. Anyway, it's going to see. We'll see how that sorts out. But once again, thank you for coming down. I want to start with some easy questions. What's your vision for Arizona? Doing what I do, and my good friend Tyson over here as well, rancher, farmer. I sit on the board of directors of the Arizona Cattle Growers Association, own Southwest Ranch Supply, and I'm on the ranches every week. We're fighting politicians every time we turn around. We've got some big issues here in the state of Arizona that I'm sure you're aware of. State land. We've got some federal partners. I hate that term because they're not partners. They're like adversaries.
Oh, isn't
trying
it
to get-
amazing how just one personality at Forest Service can make your life miserable?
They are. They absolutely are. And you know,
I also have the Tonto in my congressional district.
Understood.
And one moment I have, and then, yeah, suddenly there's a new appointment and my problems are solved. It's just fascinating how getting someone that actually is willing to work with us can make such a difference.
absolutely. But anyway, there's some of the issues we want to talk about. But overall, I'm sure the listeners want to know what your vision is for Arizona. Can you fix it?
Yeah, you can fix it, but you got to be willing to, and I make people really nervous when I say this, but you almost need a revolution in the way you approach managing government. So much of what we do in Arizona right now is almost archaic in the way we manage it. You know, if you ever, okay, years ago I was the Maricopa County Treasurer. Loved that job. But you walk in the door and there's still NCR, you know, the modern carbon paper of how we're doing things. And over a few years, we dragged the technology. Wow. So, you know, it's online, you could see delinquent parcels, you could see people who had bad deeds that we had to fix those things. We moved the lien auctions to online. And know that's geeky, but it's a demonstration of we just did what the private sector was doing of adopting technology. Think of the amount of fraud we've had, the sober living home fraud, the other things that have happened in our Medicaid system, which we call access.
The numbers, David, are just absolutely almost incomprehensible.
We think that number could be $2.8 billion.
Yeah.
And a simple data program would have stopped it, would have seen it. And here's, you're speaking to sort of I'm going to be a little rough, an idiot politician when they say, we're going to go out and we're going to hire a bunch of auditors and law enforcement and accountants and more lawyers, and we're going to hunt them down and get the money back. Well, we never seem to get the damn money back.
We never will.
How about a world where we do what the private sector is doing, where you have data systems saying, hey, you can't have that many people living in a P.O. box. Maybe this is a fraud. Hey, like in the sober living home, IHS registration numbers, Indian Health Service registration numbers. Maybe it's that same number shouldn't be in 3 or 4 locations at the same time. But we live in a time of technology, and there's often this terror from the bureaucracy of modernizing, because let's be honest, many of them are good people, but they care more about getting to their pension.
Yeah, absolutely,
Save,
the truth.
Save what's going on. And we were talking about a little bit before we went on the air. My specialty in Congress is I chair oversight and Ways and Means. So I'm the guy who, we've been working on the hospice fraud in LA County. We think it could be bigger than all of Minnesota.
No kidding.
We just found hospitals on the East Coast selling human American organs to foreigners, which is absolutely illegal. We think we found $1.5 trillion, maybe $2 trillion of fraud, semi-legal fraud, which is insane if we want to talk about, in Medicare Advantage. And yet you go to war with your own people in Congress because it means taking on their lobbyists, because often the bad acts that drive you and I nuts are someone else's profit model. And that's actually what a lot of folks don't understand, is when we talk about waste and fraud, the biggest part is the waste. We've designed programs that have what we call leakage.
Yes.
Where you and I could actually create a revolution, and you can do it here at the state level. And if you want to get into geeky things, I have a fixation that we could cut homelessness in half by this new drug that I'm trying to bring the company here to Arizona, that has a fentanyl blocker. It's not Narcan. This lasts for 18 months to 2 years.
Wow.
Someone could make it through rehab. And we, the basic math says, well, we're going to have 5 of our brothers and sisters die today in Arizona. 5 died yesterday, 5 are going to die tomorrow.
Yep.
It's absolutely immoral. We also have a paper that says fentanyl could be costing Arizona about 11% of our GDP. It's insane to think this, but that's almost $50 billion. The state budget is only what, $75, $78 billion.
Yeah.
And why don't we get conservatives that actually live and work on the conservative principle of free markets and loving our brothers and sisters? And we run around and say, hey, I'm a God-fearing conservative, and yet when was the last time any of us said great economics is actually making people's lives better?
You got a point. Okay, so I don't disagree.
Okay,
I
so
agree 100%.
But let's actually, you asked the toughest question. Arizona's actually in a rougher shape than people understand. We're 45th in affordability. Last year we produced only 24,000 new jobs. Every single one of those jobs was in welfare services and healthcare. Traditional private sector jobs actually went down. If you're a working person in Arizona right now, the last 2 years you're poor because your wages actually have been going down. You want to know why people are stressed out of their mind here in Arizona is they're poor.
Yeah.
Our foreclosures are up. Our repossessions are up. In the morality of, if you want to talk about, you got every fine person who in politics or running for office talking about affordability. Fastest way you make things more affordable is get every decent paying job back in here so they're competing to hire you. That's how you raise wages. And this, our current governor keeps coming up with these proposals. We're thinking somehow the state's going to run the parts of the economy.
Wrong.
And it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
Unbelievable. How, David? Let me ask you this: how do you educate the public before they go to the voting polls?
You show up at everything. You show up on Sunday morning, with some guy that's famous for going out and finding bass and hunting and though I haven't done a lot of saltwater fishing in my life. I need some advice on that.
Let's go. Oh, that's the second hour right here.
and we'll talk about this because I'm a hardcore backpacker. I'm one of those idiots, and I'm blessed. I have a wife who's tough as nails. We would often pick a trail, go out for 4 days, and come back and really appreciate bathing. When you're done.
Oh yeah.
So we all have, and I gotta ask because this has been stuck in my head. Did I hear you a couple years ago on your show say you've done a halo jump?
Yes, sir. I'm Halo certified.
I skydived for like 15 years.
I have 5.
That's okay. Off the air, I want to know what that's like because us normal jumpers never would get a chance to ever do that in our life.
Yeah, Halo. Yeah, that's a whole new deal. So anyway, I didn't know we were going to go down this road, but yeah, let's do it. I'm Don McDowell with Carmen Swiker. We'll be right back on his vision for State 48. Stay with us. And Tyson too. Tyson's going to have an opinion. I know he always does.
Unfortunately,
and it's a good one.
I'm sorry, but I just remember, God, I think it was a couple of years ago, you mentioned you had done a high altitude jump. And I learned to skydive at Buckeye.
Really?
All right.
Yes. Oh, it's, and I did it for like 15 years and then I got married, and on the list of things I wasn't allowed to do, that was like second or third.
Yeah.
I would go jump this afternoon right now. Let's go. For our 20th anniversary, we did skydiving,
Really?
and I'd do it again right now.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
is-
absolutely. Let's
okay,
go.
what is the mean number of jumps in America? People go do their
Yeah.
one jump, and these days it's
Right.
typically a tandem. I'm old. I'm old, so it was a
I'm not
static one.
10. Never.
See, we had to do it.
I don't
Yeah.
like someone strapped to my.
Did you have the old T28 or T10, the 28-foot diameter with the 2
Oh yeah,
modifications?
and I ended up later. I mean, I was cheap. I had a Dolphin.
Yeah.
So it was, I was never fancy. I didn't do formation. I did
Yeah,
but
yeah. Those military, it had a forward propulsion of about 5 knots.
well, okay. In the year of my last jump, so that's been 20 years. We had more people getting themselves screwed up on trying to do hook turns near the ground and trying to fly fancy
Oh yeah.
than something. And I was actually I had the like the 100th Cypress automatic activation device. So I'm that old. So sorry. There, one of the reasons skydiving got so much safer is these AADs. If you're still falling too close to the ground, it sets up a charge, opens up the.
Yeah, it's had quite a bit of technological advances.
Yeah.
I never jumped with a ram air chute, so I don't know.
You're kidding.
No.
See, I've other than your 21st, so you're trying to get your A, you'd have to open your reserve, and I'm old enough that my reserve was around, and I never want to do that again.
No.
Now
The reserves we had will hurt you.
yeah.
Let's pick you up.
Sorry,
Boom.
it's I scuba dive for I have an air rebreather that also is now I only get to use it on my
What
swimming suit.
agency?
I actually have a Poseidon. If you want to know brand.
Yeah. No, the
Oh,
certification.
Patty.
Patty. Yeah, I went clear to instructor with Patty and
Oh, good. Oh, so
yeah,
you did a
now
lot.
in SSI.
Okay. So, it's just, he had to do a whole bunch of extra classes because instructor, they take very seriously because you carry a whole lot of liability.
Wow, boy, we share a lot of commonalities.
Well, and I was a rock climber. I do have a lead certificate.
Really, I did that one time with just once.
No,
It,
it's,
it was successful, but they said, "You want to climb that?" You go, "No."
it's a bit of a misspent young middle age.
Raffy, I'm gonna start throwing rotten eggs at your window.
There's
Not
some.
her fault.
Okay, all right, you started this. There is something wrong in our state right now. My fa-
Education.
No. My father used to have a saying: if it's all over the billboards and if it's on late night television, you got an economic misalignment. How many ads do you now see from trial lawyers that want you to sue someone?
Well, you do know that Arizona started that problem. Do a little research. We were the first state in the union that allowed attorneys to advertise of attorneys.
Yeah, it went to the Supreme Court and we lost.
All right, we're back. We're not talking politics anymore. We're going to talk hunting, fishing, hiking, skydiving, scuba diving. What do you want to talk about? In Tyson over here, did I hear you correctly? You guys are out skydiving?
For our 20th wedding anniversary, we went skydiving. Yes, it was a good time.
It's a
No,
blast.
that is a anniversary gift. Oh, and to think, my wife and I gave each other full body MRIs. You know, somehow I think yours was more. Well, remember, we're insane. We're
Well,
both.
okay, was that before or after the skydive?
Oh no, it was actually part of our. When I proposed, she gave me a list of things. One of this is every morning I'm home, I have to make her a fancy coffee, and I'm not allowed to skydive. So she was.
There you go.
And to find a woman that would
Okay.
be willing to tolerate me.
You were like, okay, sign
Yeah,
up, done, like-
trust me, it was worth it. But and also, you know, we're insane. We're both 64, and we have a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old we've adopted.
That's
Congratulations.
insane.
That is
No.
awesome.
Most fun we've ever had. But you start all of a sudden going, oh, I got to do this math. So you're telling me when they graduate, hopefully college, or technical school, whatever they choose to do, and if they choose to come back home, my home is going to be a nursing home.
They will keep you young.
They will keep
They
you
will
young.
keep you young.
And exhausted.
Yes.
And
yes.
they're very
And
loud.
poor. And very
Well, so
poor.
it's talking about what it's like running for governor. You know, it has been some of the most joy I've ever had in my years of politics. But they can fight. So we did a run, Kingman, Havasu, you know, all the big loop a couple weekends ago. And so 7 hours in the car, and they fought for 6 of it.
Nice.
That's normal.
Yeah.
That's normal.
That's normal.
But can they be? Do they have to be so loud?
Yeah, that's
Yeah. It doesn't get any better as they get older. Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great joy, and it has been fascinating. One of the number one things I've learned in running for governor is sometimes the arrogance of those of us who are elected. I have an urban suburban district. I go from Van Buren. We're actually in my district right now.
okay.
And you don't think of a Republican in this area. You know, so I go from functioning Van Buren, Carefree Cave Creek, I-17, and I reach all the way over and grab La Sendas in Mesa. So I have to go through the tribal communities, those things. It's a little screwy district, but wonderful, incredibly well educated, smart people. But it's a 50-50 district, so it's always war. And then you run for governor, and you show up in Cochise County, and everyone in the room is just like you. They're free market conservatives. They want smaller government, and it's just joyful not to be in a room where a quarter of the room is yelling at you.
Okay, so how do you get to the governor's seat?
Well, apparently you drive down Van Buren.
Yeah.
And then hit 19. No, it's you got to be very serious because this is a tough election year.
This is pivotal as far as I'm concerned.
And I love the folks that keep saying, "Don't turn us into California."
No.
And they don't understand. We're living on a razor's edge as a state. Who's our senior U.S. Senator? Who's our junior U.S. Senator? Who's our Secretary of State? Who's our Attorney General? Who's our governor? Other than President Trump, it's been years and years since we've won the high-profile statewide races.
Exactly.
And you look at what happened in Virginia several months ago. You had Governor Youngkin, a conservative state legislature in Virginia, and boom, it's all gone. They have a leftist governor. They lost 14 seats in their assembly, and now it's a blue state. You think about what happened in Colorado, about 18 years ago. It's now a solid blue state. We're living on a razor's edge.
Yes, sir, we are.
And to lose the governor's seat again, and dear Lord, please hear my words, don't let us lose the state legislature. But I had some folks showing me polling about 10 days ago that we're going to have to work our heinies off to not lose the state legislature right now, because independents are now the #1 registration in Arizona.
Yes, sir.
And they're a little cranky with us. Actually, they're a lot cranky with us. And trying to be able to, because you got some folks that almost are bordering on political fraudsters that say, we're just going to do everything by turnout. It's a little hard when your own people are undervoting. We can see it right now with the return of the mail-in ballots.
Yes, sir.
Republicans were not performing particularly well. And then we see the polling, how angry independents are. And you partially understand. In a state like Arizona, their stress, the finances, this used to be a place you moved to
Yes.
to remake yourself, where it was more of a meritocracy. If you worked hard, were honest, you could do pretty darn well. And it doesn't feel like that, because it isn't like that right now.
No, it's not. It
that
had
we have to
been, it
fix.
had been that way for 10 years.
I go a little shorter, but you also have other things happening in the economy. Maricopa, Pima County, we were the back office of America. We were the call centers, the back office account, back office jobs. And it explains why you've got if you're governor, you're constantly trying to get the next generation of economic opportunity to move here, because that's how you raise wages. That's how you create prosperity.
Moving on down the road just a little bit, we've got so many state-run departments. We're having a big issue with the state land department. Do you have a vision to straighten out them relative to solar panels? The solar panels are a big deal. That's a constant fight. We negotiated with the Trump administration, Burgum, and we've got some relief on BLM land to a certain extent, but there's still issues there. But the state land department is just going nuts.
Oh, it's and some of it's just childish.
It is.
Look, you're a hot air balloonist. Have you heard what they do to them? So we have some state trust lands sort of wrapping around the suburban areas.
Yeah, of course.
And they go out and try to arrest them for, God forbid, landing on state trust land. Okay, if you want to manage the landing, you're terrified of a balloon landing on a piece of state trust desert because they might, kick up some dust. Fine, have them document they have insurance. Have them say, but there's no reason to constantly be a conflict with.
Yeah.
I mean, the state trust land was a gift in our enabling documents.
Correct.
Now, a lot of folks don't understand the state constitution. They think it's either our playground or that it's, our moneymaker. It's a combination of both. But it needs to be managed. And I'm a little enraged. Now, this is my real estate hat going on. If you ever get a chance, look at a map, particularly of north part of Maricopa County, where state trust land's here, and the development have skipped, 4 miles over, and then there's another development.
Yes, sir.
Some of these contracts where we put parts of the state land under planning, and the planning takes a decade. It's just the management of development in a rational fashion. If you just look at the maps and you realize it hasn't been happening.
Well, I spent a lot of time out by Tyson's in north of Dendora Valley and west of Arlington. We've got an influx of solar plants.
Yeah, and have you dove hunted out there?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's one three we were just talking about. That was the real reason I was out there.
Well, you're welcome to come down any day.
I would love that.
Okay.
You want to explain what you're doing down there with the dove
Yeah,
plots?
and you have one of the most interesting pieces of land in the county. So
We're blessed, but that's,
Tell
that's,
'em.
No. We try to keep it a secret. We don't want to tell everybody where we're hunting at. That we just welcome the ones we want to come. out.
Oh, I see how this is. So you're just an elitist. You
No,
just
no,
want
no.
fancy people.
No, we would love your fanciness to come down, but and we welcome everyone, but they have to be controlled and respect the property.
Yeah, and that's all right. I know this is non sequitur, but let's try to do it. I'm the concealed carry bill in Arizona from 1993 is mine, and one of the reasons I loved that I was a kid in the state legislature is respect your weapons. How do I also get my brothers and sisters who like to go out and hunt birds and those things respect the landowners who are being kind enough to
Absolutely.
let you on there?
Yeah, that's a big deal. Hold that thought. That's a good one to follow up on after break here at Fox Sports 910. I'm Don McDowell with the congressman and a rancher farmer over here.
Stewart.
Stacy's pushing buttons. And Rebecca's got to come get a donut.
No, I'm gonna let. This is your party. I'm just.
No,
I'm just glad to be here.
Because you have an input, but the fact of the matter is, people. It's one of my intense concerns. Parts of rural Arizona are dying.
100%.
It-
We are
it-
the state of Maricopa County.
no,
And-
we're not. We're the grand imperial state of Maricopa County.
But what's sad is everything that you just said, taking the tour around for the governor, and if you step out of this 80 by 80 metropolis pile of crap, we have like-minded folks that have been here for generations. But we could all vote the same, and we will still be overruled by Maricopa County.
It is, what will shock you is, no, it won't shock you. Rural Arizona is incredibly impressive. I was in Taylor, 3-4 weeks ago. No one ever gets to Taylor, except for the old tasty breeds there.
Thank you.
And they know what they're doing. The families have been there. I was probably the only non-LDS in the room, but in many ways I'm the only.
I'm used to that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm the only one that had never been intoxicated, so that was sort of a funny joke. And the coffee there was actually pretty decent. You can see where this is going.
Yeah.
But they're
I have some
dying.
jokes for you later about that.
Okay. But they're dying.
Your mic is really low.
Okay. Don't you hate that when they?
So,
Yes, ma'am.
you know,
I
like
am.
I close. It's just I had to keep turning you up
Is
all
my
Yeah,
is
it's
my
okay.
volume okay?
You're good.
You're perfect.
Honestly, you're also a little bit far from it. But if you prefer to lean all the way down, you're welcome
Yeah,
to.
and I
If you
do
need to
sometimes
move it up here.
project a bit more.
Yeah, it's
than-
I've been turning you down. I've been turning him up. He's been most of the time.
Oh,
So,
fine.
but he's a pro.
Think about some of the public statements and some of the policies coming out of the Department of Water Resources right now under Governor Hobbs. It really is leaning towards we're gonna basically drain rural Arizona.
I want to start a class action lawsuit because I pump water, and now we're going to raise Horseshoe Dam. There's a bill in there. We're going to make that taller.
And I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that too. But now compensate me because I'm not going to have my downstream flows that we've been used to. The last Roosevelt, all these other dams have been there.
Yeah.
And so every you were just talking about the flood and the mess and everything. I need those every so often. I don't mind that I lose my road because that recharges my aquifer. Now you're going to
Yep.
store that up above, and you're going to affect my groundwater.
Your
but
water.
then you're going to try to regulate my groundwater.
Now
So
that's
you're-
actually
But you're taking away a flow that recharges.
that's interesting. Now your well depth hasn't moved much.
Not at all. And there's a reason why there.
Groundwater recharge. Does it get out all the way to you?
Absolutely, but it has nothing to do with the river. Where I'm at, I have washes that run. All I need is a wash to run every 3 to 4 years to give me a monsoon.
Hey, also, you promised
Need to
me.
warm up?
No, I'm still good, but you promised me a super El Nino.
And it's gonna happen.
What's that?
You promised me a super El Nino, and I know I'm seeing enough boiling yet
No.
over the mountains.
But the big storms always come from Prescott, not from the south. That's what we've always said. Dan.
Okay,
No, no,
now
no,
the
our pacing.
congressman's attacking me because we don't have any rain. No, let me clarify that, and that's something we'll talk about in the next hour. There's no yellowfin coming in. We're not going to have any monsoons. Mother Nature is angry. She's going to give us more lightning shows. We're going to have more fires, and no, I just don't think we're going to have much of a monsoon. Unfortunately,
Yeah, I'm praying you're wrong.
me, Congressman, me too.
Because look, it's been a while since we had a super El Nino cycle, but we did actually have some pretty good rains up in our mountain area and watershed area. I am freaked out over the fires. I actually have some radical ideas on trying to do much faster response on fire suppression.
Thank you.
Because our forests are so poorly managed,
Yes, it is.
and the amount of non-native grasses we have now.
Oh,
And the unwillingness.
you're going to get him
thin.
started.
If you actually, okay, for anyone that cares, come to my DC office. I actually have this photo. It was given to me 20 years ago, and it's Munns Park. And on
Yep.
this side of the photo is Munns Park from 100 plus years ago.
Yep.
And you can see the density of the trees. You could actually drive a wagon through it. The exact same spot. Today you'd have trouble running your motorcycle through it. There's just so many trees.
Yes.
And these trees look horribly sick. These look beautiful.
Second
you can,
growth.
Yeah, you can only tap the groundwater supply so much.
Yes, sir.
And so in many ways, the people that thought they were loving the forest are the very ones that are killing it.
So what's the answer? Your colleague Paul Gosar came to me several years ago with a plan to convert federal lands to state lands, and we rolled around in the parking lot a couple times on that because I wasn't in favor of it, but the longer we go, the more in favor I'm getting.
It doesn't have to be the transfer of the deed, though I do have some issues with some of there's certain parts of the BLM land in the urban, suburban areas that you do it like Las Vegas does, where, when density hits or something, you sell the next ring out, sort of to manage that growth. And that's a whole another side discussion. We need to actually start making an economy. Growing up here in Arizona, we had a timber industry. Remember the OSB plant?
Oh, yeah.
For the plywood. We tried to do some experiments of collecting, everything from the grass to the small diameter woods, those things, and make pellets out of it, or some generation of it.
Yep.
We don't have a choice, because with the amount of non-native grasses, and particularly with, looks like it's going to be a continued drought cycle, these forests are going to explode on us.
Yep.
And you can actually live an example. Go on to some of the White Mountain Apache, where they do forest management.
Yeah.
And you got to give them credit. You can almost see the difference of how you see the tribal land, and it looks different. You can see the health difference.
Along those notes, remember a couple years ago, Greer was on fire,
Oh yes,
and the fire moved. And as soon as it hit the reservation, it put itself out.
Yes.
Because they manage the forest, they graze it, they harvest timber out of it.
And you try to explain this to those of us who are more from the urban suburban areas who don't go out into the amazing state we have. To understand, you're creating a fire load, a fuel load underneath that explodes. I can show you some of the spots that I've walked from some of the big fires, near the rim and the ground still feels like glass
Of course.
because it burned so hot.
We just walked on the Sycamore fire. I walked that Friday. 11 miles, 11,000 acres. It's devastated. It's out of commission unless we get rain, unless we get some kind of participation from Forest Service or USDA to do some reseeding up there. It's out of commission.
And this is not new. We've been in basically since the environmentalist movement found a way to profit from litigation.
Yes.
Remember,
Sue and settle.
and it's the idiots, those are of us idiots in Washington, which created the equal access to justice. So it's an industry. Litigate, get a paycheck. Litigate, get a paycheck. One of the greatest presentations I ever lived was a combination of memorial service and an observation what happened to our 19 heroes who died, the Yarnell fire.
No, granted.
And Granite Mountain, and every time I always do the back way when coming out of Prescott, so my kids can see the
Yarnell Hill
memorial
Park.
and those things. And plus, I almost died many years ago on that switchback. Think of this: part of that forest area was under litigation for years and years and years and years by an environmentalist group. If it had been thinned, 19 lives would not have been lost. But today, you don't have to have litigation because there's no forest. It's gone. And it's the perversity of the way we, it's always about the money. It's not about, I believe ultimately protecting our habitat.
And sir, you don't have to thin it. Just let us graze it.
Yeah, well, I think you have to do.
We have to be
I'm a
bold.
little bit more of a radical. There's many of the trees when you can start to see they've lived their life cycle. Now you want some natural decay,
Right.
but you do need to do some thinning to basically also somewhat match the change in water, groundwater, those things. You need the grazing because the non-native grasses explode, because they dry up and become just tinder. And trying to explain, and every once in a while I'll have an argument with an environmentalist who's showing me something from 50 years ago and saying, but the fuel load today is dramatically different than when that paper was written.
If you go to NAU, Flagstaff
Yeah.
was clear cut. Everything up there was clear cut. It's nothing we did. It was done before we became a state. They
Yeah.
harvested all the timber. Everything is second generation. And it came up like weeds. That's why we have to manage it because we cut it all away 150 years ago.
And look, my wife and I, we're backpacking fanatics. So we're less in the hunting. Though I did do a bow turkey in the Blue not too long ago.
Nice.
Do you know they have mosquitoes? And some of us were idiots, didn't bring repellent with us, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
And so one of our goals is to do the Arizona Trail. So we've now done about 20% of it. Last year was my 40th camping trip, where I sleep over a couple nights in the bottom of the Grand Canyon.
Nice.
So if you ever want to come, we got it down to a science. And this is part of one of the cultural things. So you become governor. How do I help my brothers and sisters who live here in Maricopa County, where you realize half of them have never even seen the Grand Canyon?
More than half.
Well, exactly. And to your point, this is part and parcel of the food fight with Arizona Game and Fish. They're catering to 76% of the voting populace that don't know anything about anything. They don't hunt, they don't fish, they don't hike. They think wild horses or feral horses are wild animals, and this whole state's in trouble.
Well, but it doesn't have to be.
No, but how do we fix it?
It's a combination of have a vision. Maybe someone that's nutty like me that Sunday morning go to mass and then throw the family in the car, and a couple hours later you and your kids and your wife are hiking on the rim.
Yeah.
Or trying to go fish up on the plateau. We need to create a sort of communal understanding of the amazing resources that are around us.
Yeah.
And just sitting at home and playing a video game all day, you're missing life. You're missing what God has given us.
Yeah, but I think one of the bigger factors, the street that I'm going down is, we've got state agencies that need to be rehabbed.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be, scrapped and started over. You've got federal agencies that think are part. The Fish and Wildlife Service is out of control with these Mexican gray wolves. The forest management is way out of control. It is right now. You look at what happened Unit 6B, a couple, 21 when
Yeah.
they had the Raphael fire.
Yes.
That was set. They had enough asset there to hit that thing and put it out in 24 hours. They let that damn thing burn clear down to Cottonwood, and now they've got the pocket fire that's burned another 40,000 acres. That it's about to jump the 538 road, which is going to hit the Sycamore Canyon. That they let burn during the Raphael fire. That unit's gone. It's done.
Yep, and so those folks who were opposing some of the grazing and those things there, they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is perverse. Look, I have two sort of management things I'd really like to accomplish. One of them is, how do I get all those folks that believe they have authority over our natural resources? And some of it's on the federal land, BLM land, state land, even working with some of the tribal communities. And how do you get them to actually act more of a co-op instead of the egos and the fighting?
I don't see that happening.
But you don't. But if
that's
you're
a great
governor,
vision.
but if you're governor, you actually have at least some gravitas
Bingo.
to get them all in the room. The other thing is, we live in a time where technology. I sat through a presentation a few months ago of these, and forgive my language. I know you're very sensitive about language. Big ass drones that actually look at the lightning strike monitors, and if they think they have a hit, this thing it's a fire suppression drone. And they can be there in minutes.
Wow.
You have them, but think about how many fires, if we'd gotten there in the first 20 minutes, half an hour,
Yeah.
we could have stopped it. And that technology exists today. Now, it turns out some of the folks that fly this slurry bomber and this and that aren't as happy with this idea, but it's not about your pocketbook. It's about preserving these
Exactly.
forests. And the way we're doing isn't working. Time to move on.
Well, yeah, it is, and you take those folks and you start taking their paycheck away from them, reform the whole damn thing. We got a new ball game. I'm Don McDowell. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
There really is. We now have this, and problem is I'm trying to keep Lockheed from, because Lockheed wants to charge a boatload of money for it, and we don't need it. There really is this company, and it's partially in Deer Valley Airport. The drone is half the size of this room, and it carries either water or slurry. And you put them in some of the different ranger stations, and there's strike. You fly it. If there's something smoldering, you dump it, and it's automatic. It sees the hot spot itself. You don't have someone flying it.
So it's Uber Eats for fires.
You're okay. You're brilliant. Yeah, you nailed it. And the concept of that. So I did a presentation on this. If anyone, I'll give you my cell number. I'll send you the slide deck from the company. It's starting to try to sell these. And the first call I got was from the lobbyist who represents the tankers.
Well, 100%. It's affected us big time. Your the EPA, which I'm so glad we're changing the DEF standards. We made a small little living for years fighting fires for the state with bulldozers.
Okay.
Okay, we did very well. We do the little fires no one ever saw. Me and a bunch of prison crews, and we'd go out there and have a brush rake. We're pretty good at getting rid of salt cedars. We're not allowed anymore.
Why?
My dozer's a 2001 model.
Oh, no. Aren't we rolling this one back?
We're rolling it back. But also my semi is a 1982. And so I don't have new enough equipment. Even though it's safe, it's perfect, it's painted, they don't let me come to the fires anymore because I don't have new equipment. Because it doesn't meet the EPA standards of having DEF fluid.
I thought we had an agreement that we
But
were
I'm
lift-
also
we were-
but
we
I'm
were
also a
lifting
state I was a contractor under state land.
Okay.
Well, I'm taking money away from people that are working for the state.
that. Oh, no, it's,
And so I was the last resort to call, but then we would stay out there. We would go 24 hours a day because I could run 3 shifts. I go 8 hours because we had 3 drivers. But I haven't been to a fire in 5 years. I was down at the Green Valley fire, the Florida fire. We were there for a week, but we worked one day. Yeah, we knocked that out. You want to talk about Yarnell? The scariest thing I ever did was take a dozer, 95,000 pounds, up Yarnell Hill to People's Valley.
I almost died on that as when I was 18 years old, because I thought I could drive it in a snowstorm.
But we got up there, we put the fire out, and we stayed there for 2.5 days, made sure that there was no But I mean, it was fun. It was we were on call.
And today you wouldn't get that call.
We don't get the calls anymore,
Um,
and which is fine. But it was
no, it's not fun.
But that's where we need more private industry to fight fires.
Yeah.
Because there's people like me that are hungry. Because I would get a pass.
No. Let's nail. I want to dig down.
Dave Daniels retired,
Okay.
and he was at Yuma, and he was awesome.
And is this because state lands or who's basically saying we're going to use our own crews?
That was the last thing that I was told about 4 or 5 years ago when I got called last. I mean, we had all the insurance, we had the training. I still have the clothes hanging in the closet, but you know, the green pants, yellow
I'd
shirts.
love to know more about this because I have this radical proposal. Okay, think about where we're sitting right now. City of Phoenix, Salt River Project, Maricopa County. I think we're in the Balt School District. I have basically 20 layers of government just right here. Salt River Project has earth graders. Phoenix has earth graders. The community college, for some reason, has. I've always wanted to take these assets, and anyone that's willing to pledge their private assets to it, and just say, look, we're going to put it. If I'm the city, I can hit the button, and who has a front loader, who has a grader, who has a clean striping truck, who has a flood control engineer, and share the assets. Not every municipality needs to go out and buy a $300,000 grader.
A couple months ago in Oxnard, a good friend of mine farms in Oxnard County.
Okay.
There was a fire just north of there.
Okay.
He showed up with 2 of his water trucks because they grow vegetables. They were pumping out people's pools, and they got shut down because they were working behind the fire line. He goes, "Hey, that's my house. I'm going to save my house." He started
All right,
saving-
we're back visiting with the good congressman. Before we went to break, we were talking about revamping some of the state agencies, and my bigger concern right now for us, doing what I do and for natural resources is the Forest Service, USDA, and Fish and Wildlife Service out of Albuquerque. Any thoughts there?
None that you want me to say out loud without, do you have your beat button?
Air.
Boy, we got a big dumb button with me in here. Yeah, that's for sure.
Look, it's once again, the clash of, and understand, in my time in Congress, I'm the dean of the delegation. I've been in Congress 16 years, but I'd also been the county treasurer and done some other things. I've always found in bureaucracies, and particularly elected officials, arrogance, vanity, and I can't tell you how many meetings I've been in where sitting right next to me is the guy who's representing BLM, and over here's someone from Forest Service, and here's someone from the state, and here's someone, and they all talk about how much we get along and this and that, and then they walk out the door, and I realize we just spent 2 hours of my life and no one actually came to a damn agreement.
That's correct. It's still going on, by the way.
Well, I'm a big fan of lock the door theory and no lunch till we actually have it on paper.
Bingo. Yes, sir.
And it's also, but time is precious, and I'm tired of people just liking to move their jaws and share with me how smart they are, instead of coming.
and 4-year cycles.
Well, actually, in some of the, the BLM, we've had how many administrators come and go over the years, and suddenly we'll get someone we can actually work with, has a vision, and as soon as that, they're gone.
You mean Bureau of Land Non-Management?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and then you also have, but I need us to think a little more complicated. The management of resources that are in our suburban exurb areas. We talk about housing affordability, access to build. One of my degrees actually really is in housing economics, and talking about you can't change pricing and accessibility unless you have inventory. But then you step out to the outer rings. Now it's grazing is one of my most powerful tools for fire suppression. Now the next level is these are my resources that protect my watershed. But
Exactly.
and look, I have family that talks about many years ago going up and down the Verde and chopping down non-native trees because we were trying to protect the watershed. Today, you'd get sued for even just saying that out loud.
Yeah, don't even think about it.
And all you see is cottonwood trees, and they're beautiful.
And they suck water like,
Anywhere from 500 to 1,500 gallons a day.
and people don't understand that.
No, they don't.
That, so on one hand, now look, water's a big deal. And we actually, I have a whole presentation we do on how to gain access to wet water almost immediately. Yes, we're gonna probably have to swap and buy with San Diego County. We're gonna have to probably tap some of the groundwater recharge district. That was my legislation from like 34 years ago, because we turned, underneath much of Maricopa County, some of that water is actually even bleeding out in Buckeye these days in some of the washes.
Because the water table's coming up.
Yeah.
We're not pumping anymore.
Yeah, well, it's a combination of that, and we've also spent 34 years buying the excess water out of the CAP and percolating it over on Salt River.
But also what scares me is that we're building south of the railroad tracks.
It is, yeah,
And
we're
we're-
going into some new areas.
No, but we're building where this was all a delta. This is all
Yeah.
marsh. I mean, the reason why at Chase Field over here, the railroad track goes through there, nothing was south of that because that was marsh. It was unstable ground.
Most people don't realize how high up in some of those areas the water table is.
8 feet.
Yeah,
8 feet.
but that's, so years ago, so this is what, 1993, I'm like 29 years old in the state 30 years old, I'm the majority whip in the state legislature. I got to move up really quick because I was so good and smart, and had nothing to do with the fact they had indicted 10% of the legislature the year before. But,
I would go with the smart.
part of
That
it,
was so
but
smart.
the vision was back then, we had a problem. We actually had too much Central Arizona project water, and we didn't have buyers for that excess water. And if we didn't use it, California was gonna lay a claim on it.
Oh, yeah.
So what do? Well, we took it and started putting it into the ground. Well, we got 30 plus years. That is wet water. As we're trying to build, stability on our water supply, if the upper basin states are going to continue in drought, we actually go, let's tap it. We don't have a choice. Now, I don't think it's a long run solution, but it's available to us. So there's a series of these things to just create water stability. And then we're gonna do crazy things like everything from leaky pipes to investments in additional desalinization. And, I got an hour-and-a-half presentation on this stuff because it turns out it's complicated.
Well, and it's not a one.
Oh, no, you gotta do like well, our best guess is we have a list of 100 things and you gotta do about 15 of them.
Because every area is different.
Yes, and most folks don't realize when you pay your water bill at a home, the majority of that water bill is actually electricity.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Because you have to pump it. You have
And
to move it.
and a bunch of it goes uphill, and often where we have wet water, it isn't where we actually need it. And look, technology on water management, water purification, even some new technology on how you can do desal. You could also do certain salinity mitigation for the mesa in Yuma, and do some water swapping, saying, hey, we'll do some salinity management. It's a little different than desalinization, which is potable water.
Correct.
You might be able to do a swap of some of their water rights, saying, will you lease these and allow us to leave it in Lake Havasu so we can pump it?
Wow.
And when I say pump it, I mean pump it up the cliff into the CAP canal.
Yeah. How much damage did Bruce Babbitt do with the Colorado?
I would actually go back, let's see, it's 1922, so that's 104 years ago. Remember, there were 12 people. 2 of them, actually, their families are sitting here because, I mean, both
you're
of you have
busted,
an
you're
amazing
busted.
We're in
lineage.
trouble.
But I've actually gone back.
Congressman, hold that thought. We're going to go into a hard break here at
All
the
right.
top there. When we come back, more with Congressman Swihart and Tyson Store. You need to get a camera on him.
No.
Do you want to
We'll be right back here at Fox
I have a
Sports
face for
19.
radio.
Okay, the question we're gonna go to is, Bruce did some screwy negotiations, but those were on financing, particularly parts of the financing package on the Central Arizona project. Our real legacy that crushes us is much of the law of the river was codified in 1922, so 104 years ago. And remember, we had almost no people here. We had actually a fairly healthy agriculture economy. You know, back then, because we could grow, you could, even back then, you were still getting what, 7-8 cuttings from alfalfa.
I mean, Brophy was built in the middle of a hayfield.
Yeah, it's,
But okay, you got to go back to the original problem. You talk about math. 17.4 million acre feet has been allocated amongst the Colorado River. But it's only ever averaged about 15.5, 15.7.
and now,
So now these 2 million acre feet that do not exist because we only had 10 years worth of data, and we only had about 40 years worth of weather data, and really we only have about 80 or 90 years worth of weather data now, based on you got to go back and follow some tree rings, and now we know a little bit more science. But there's a reason why the Hohokam left here 1,400 years ago.
I try not to mention that to people.
So no, there's strife. I mean, and we're not. That's not global warming. It's a cycle. I mean, the mini ice age when they moved the.
It's just nature. Look, I'm with you on that. It's just
The good Lord has a plan, and super El Nino, no El Nino. It's our job to be personally responsible. If we move into the desert and we don't have water, that's our own damn fault.
But can
we
I
have
hear-
personal responsibility.
But think about the last 5, 10, 15 years here in Arizona. How much planning have we done? How much new storage? We've done a lot of talking.
But you know what? We don't have to. We don't have to.
We
It's
just
hard-
keep moving more people here.
But
Yes.
you've already done this.
Right.
CODRAD, COGRAD. It's I might be off my acronym, but when we put the Central Arizona project in, there's a fee on any house that was built after 1988, 1990, somewhere in there, that they pay a fee for the water that they get off the Central Arizona project.
Yes, and we even have a property tax on it.
It's property tax, right?
Yeah.
But that's already been that could be changed from a couple of dollars to $1,000, and then people will quit using water.
Oh, no.
And
Yeah, you're thinking like an economist.
And then okay, I'm trying to make $100 an acre profit. Okay, in the scheme of things, go build your plants, go do whatever, it's better. And the only reason they take away ag ground is they don't have to wait 10 years for environmental study because it's already been disturbed ground. They're not taking the desert. They're not going to mess with anything like that. They don't even want to mess with it because they can go take ag ground and build on it the next day as soon as they close because it's already been disturbed. And they have some water to go along with it. But it's not really they don't have water. They just have the right to water because it's part of a district. And the reason I'm out there at Painted Rock Dam is I'm not in a district. I have water that stays with me.
Now, your ground actually has water rights.
Correct.
So
I'm not part of a district. I'm not part of a county road. Nothing.
what has disturbed me, the one thing that just, because it burns my soul, I have all these people who tell me how conservative they are ultra MAGA they are, and the next thing is they want to violate your constitutional rights to your bundle of rights on your piece of real estate.
Well, they can't take mine because there's not a canal system that brings it to me. It's my responsibility to get out of the
You
ground.
see, there's where I think you're wrong. Be careful. Now, it's unconstitutional.
Right.
And Arizona actually has really good condemnation laws. I know because I rewrote part of them years ago to make it so, they can't just, government can't just for their, to hand it to a business, steal your water rights or steal part of your real estate. You have to be absolutely fairly compensated. But the number of groups I've spoken to, and say, well, just stop them from growing, alfalfa and hay, and we'll have plenty of water. But that piece of ground they're on has that. It's a property right.
But see, it goes back to what I just talked about. It was easier to develop the ground here. They should be developing out there where there's pumping water and putting it out there. But they took already disturbed
Okay,
ground
here we go,
as a
boys.
dam.
Well,
They built the wrong
those-
spot, and now
Okay.
we have to deal with it.
yeah.
Sorry, I just
No, you're right. There's, as you know, there's more to it. And there's some ugly coming on power prices and those things,
Oh,
of even
it's-
getting that water there. And there's an economic model that says you want.
We're back. If you just joined us, we have Congressman David Schweikert, Congressional District Number 1 in here making a bid for Arizona governor. He's got my vote. He's got Tyson's vote.
And we're here geeking out. If people could hear what goes on during the commercial break,
they do.
I think Tyson,
we
I
are
think-
live during the commercial.
Oh, good, because we've almost solved part of the water problem.
oh, we have some pretty good ideas.
Yeah.
We just need to be not stopped to execute them.
And I need some of my fellow politician types to stop saying things that are mathematically not true. I'll get this one person who will stand up and say, "We're just going to pump everything." Okay. In some areas, great. In a whole bunch of areas, it doesn't work.
Are you familiar with the term "you just can't fix stupid"?
Okay.
How do you fix what you're talking about? It's a major
Welcome
issue.
to my life in Congress. Look, God gave me only one talent. I'm really good at math. And the number of times I do these presentations, look, I'm apparently a YouTube celebrity. Every week I do these presentations, sometimes an hour long, on here's the problem, here's our demographic issues, and here's how you can fix it. And the moment it's done, I realize no one's listening in Congress.
No. Well, you're exceptional with your service, and thank you for that. I've had long conversations with my good friend RC about the way you conduct yourself and represent the state, and we think collectively you do a hell of a job as a governor. We just have to get you there. What can we do to help you get that seat?
Say nice things, send a text message to everyone you've ever known. Look, this is always a tough race. Because you're trying to actually do two things: advocate for the prosperity for Arizona, and then articulate saying, and here's the hurdles that are ahead of us. And it's a bunch of things, because we've allowed a whole bunch of things to go south on us.
Yeah, we have.
Everything from the drug culture that's just you lost 5 people today from fentanyl in Arizona, all the way up to coming up with a vision of just how do you stabilize water resources and power resources and fuel resources, the way we do education financing, and then try to explain to people that do education financing in a state where next year we'll have fewer children than we had 20 years ago and double the number of 65 and up. It's just math. It's all in front of us. There's really creative, free market ways to do this. So the way you win a race is, I need votes. Look, there's multiple polls out there that say I'm the only Republican who can beat Katie Hobbs. This is a tough year.
I believe that.
And are you tired of losing?
Yes.
And
You're
the
here.
danger, and we barely control the state legislature. And think about what Arizona would be like if we kept a leftist governor and then lost the state legislature. We officially become a blue state,
California.
and it's over. And that's I would argue that's what this primary is about, is electability.
It is.
If you can't win the general election, you shouldn't vote for them in a primary.
Well, national average, we're looking at, depending on polls, I hate polls. One says we have 3.53 people per household across the U.S. I think Arizona's more like 3.15 across the U.S. and 2.53 in Arizona. Do you agree with those numbers?
Yeah, and we actually have,
Per household?
yeah, it's a little more complicated because part of the Arizona market has so many seasonal houses. My grandfather used to have a joke, there's only 2 types of people in Phoenix: those that stay for the summer and those that don't have to.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
David, you're part of a family that has to stay for summer.
Yeah. Well,
So some of our math is a little weird, but we have good data on things like that. The battle is, how do you get our brothers and sisters out there to understand voting, and voting, hopefully, preferably in a conservative fashion, is how you preserve prosperity for the future.
how do we get rid of the polls?
You really concerned the number of folks who prefer to vote through the mail. Bless them. But those ballots haven't been coming back at the rates they should. And it's on my side. My Republican side are starting to underperform. And I'm hoping that isn't a harbinger of they're just frustrated. And quitting is never a solution. Dropping out, not voting is not a solution. Find candidates that actually bring you
ways to fix the problems you're concerned about.
Yeah.
Not someone that just gives you a list of the problems. And that's what much of our politics have become today, is we do a radio show like this, or we do a forum, and candidates get up and we basically complain. And at the end of it, you realize, great, you just articulated the list we all know.
Yeah.
Give me a
nice.
solution.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we're looking at. You know, we talked to roughly 750,000 veterans in this state. The hunting and fishing community, you know that as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's vast. And then you throw in the ranchers and the farmers. We've got enough horsepower to overthrow the government, basically.
Well, I wouldn't phrase it that way.
through let me finish. Through elections.
Yeah, through elections. But how do you get, and the reality of it is, how do I get the folks who become urban and suburban to love and respect the folks that have been making their living off the land in many different ways, whether they're, doing their fly fishing guide,
Yeah.
or raising, wheat and cotton. And I would argue, if you're blessed to be governor, you can do a much better job of getting these populations to see each other and the morality of what they bring to the state's economy, because we need each other.
Yeah, we do. We've got a lot of work to do. We've got to get behind the governor. We have